It's been 1 year since we built our masonry heater, a large brick wood-burning heater designed with classic properties to retain heat for a long period of time. A full winter has passed and we have well over 100 burns of experience with it, so it's time to reflect on our masonry heater. Did it meet our expectations? And would we do anything different now? During the winter, the video of our masonry build got a lot of traction. And the comments filled up with a lot of questions, many from guys like me that want to build one as well. So let's start with a recap. What did we build? For many years I have ideas about sustainable living and being self-sufficient, using renewable resources and not wasting energy. When we bought this house it had a central heating system on gas. I was not really keen on using that, so I took it out. I read and heard a lot about efficient wood heaters, and rocket mass heaters are very popular. They seem appealing, but we wanted to have something a bit more tidy looking. And we also like the idea of looking at the fire through a big window. And with the property we also got a piece of forest, so free firewood. I decided that a masonry heater would be the best solution for our house. Often described as the beating heart at the center of a home, where people gather around after a cold day out in the field. So I came up with the design, the corner model. I did a lot of research online and in some old books, but there's not a lot of information out there about this old craft. So I looked for a fireplace builder to help me with this build, as I figured their experience will be invaluable. It was difficult to find a serious builder though. Most of them only build a modern type of fireplaces with a metal firebox covered in drywall. They generate a lot of heat fast, but they cool down just as fast as the fire goes out. When I presented them my wishes, they didn't follow up on their promised price offers or house visits. Until I found the old man that actually helped me with the build. He has no online advertisement, so he's difficult to find. We were just lucky to get him referenced from a family friend. He's very experienced in building tile ovens that we call terracotta here in Romania. And he learned to craft from his father, and he uses traditional methods and lots of clay. Perfect. Though our build with lots of brick and a big window wasn't quite his cup of tea. So still quite a lot of thinking went into this build, but at the end he said, we've built a tank. So how did we build it? After placing a layer of insulation on the exterior wall, we started with the base. It's like a quarter of a hexagon in the corner of our living room. That way the large window of the firebox will be facing the center of the room, so we can see it very well. The outer layer is made of brick and is laid with regular mortar with a pinch of tile glue mixed into it. All bricks are fire bricks, baked at high temperatures so they can resist the high temperatures of the fireplace. At the base is solid brick with all spaces in between filled up with clay. And in the center a large compartment in which the wood ash can collect. Within the front a small door for cleaning and air intake. Above it a grill on which the fire burns inside the large fire chamber, with in the front a large door with a glass window. Then the top of the fire chamber is made of steel beams in order to support the draft channels that are made out of brick standing on top of it. We built 5 channels with plenty of width so air flows through it slowly, allowing the hot air to heat up all the brickwork so that it can radiate into the house slowly. On the sides we added 2 clean-out doors to clean the ash particles that settle in the channels over time. Then the roof of the channels is covered with ceramic roof tiles laid in thick clay, all on top of a rebar mesh. Then on top of that 1 more layer of fire brick. The face of the masonry heater we covered with plasterboard all the way up to the ceiling, and then plastered and painted it so it blends in nicely with the room. At the top are 2 vents to allow air to draw into the chamber above the masonry heater, from where a duct pulls air with a fan to our kitchen and bedroom. And the chimney goes out through the wall, and outside on a metal base on the floor a 5+ meter tall chimney of stainless steel pipe. Now, does it work well? Does it heat the entire house? In short, yes, it works. The wood burns inside, the smoke goes out through the chimney. The brickwork heats up and then slowly releases that heat over a long period of time. We've had days in the late fall and early spring that we burned about 2 buckets of wood in one go, and the heater stayed warm for about 24 hours. But that's with outdoor temperatures above 10 degrees Celsius. Once it started freezing in the winter, we needed to burn a lot more and make fires every day. And then in January it got proper cold, with daytime temperatures around the freezing point. At night it reached as low as minus 15 degrees Celsius. It got pretty chilly, even inside. We were burning wood all day, up to like 6 buckets a day. The masonry heater would get so hot that you couldn't keep your hand on it on the outside, but still it wasn't enough to heat up the entire house. In the living room we would get it up to about 20-22 degrees Celsius during the day that we were burning all day long, but in the kitchen it wouldn't really warm up. It would only be around 17 to 18 degrees in there, or in the mornings I've seen it dip even below 16 degrees. And not to mention upstairs, the lowest temperature I remember seeing there in the morning was around 13 degrees. Now that's pretty cold, even for sleeping under a blanket. Luckily our bathroom is on the other side of the wall of our masonry heater, so that warmed up pretty nice and was never too cold to use. So our masonry heater is not enough to heat up our entire home during the cold winter. But why? There are some factors contributing to this, and I'll go over them now. 1. The home size. Our house is pretty large for just one heat source. We have about 140 square meters in surface, good for about 270 cubic meter of air that needs heating. If it were just a ground floor, it may have been enough, but we made a loft space, which has quite a big volume as well. The roof of our loft is insulated very well, but still there's a lot of heat loss through the roof during the cold winter nights. Maybe for a space this big, a second heater would be necessary. We are glad that we installed an AC unit upstairs in November. It used some kilowatts, but at least it kept the temperatures bearable upstairs. 2. The location. Our masonry heater is built in the corner of our living room, next to the exterior wall. We insulated that piece of wall, but still that's not ideal. For the best results with a masonry heater, it should be built in the middle of a house. Ideally the house should be built around the masonry heater, planned in a way that it heats up multiple rooms. We had the option to build it in the middle of the house, but that would have required a chimney going straight through the roof. And I did not want any openings in our new roof that could potentially cause a leak in the future. Also the location that the chimney would go through in the upper level would not be practical. So I decided on the more aesthetic pleasing option in the corner of the room. That way we could also exit through the wall with the chimney. But I think if a house is planned around the masonry heater, your results will already be better. House insulation. We insulated our new roof and installed triple pane windows. But we did not insulate our brick exterior walls. They are thick walls, so heat transfers pretty slowly, but still it transfers. The walls are pretty cold to the touch during the winter months, so one item on my DIY list for this year is insulating the walls. I think that will make a pretty big difference. I ran some calculations and I believe we will have about 90% less heat loss through our brick walls if we insulate it with 10 centimeter of rock wool. The air ducts. I did install an air duct from above the masonry heater to our kitchen, and later also going upstairs with a powered fan strong enough to circulate the air in the entire house in about 1 hour. The idea was nice, and at the end of the ducts you can actually feel the warm air coming out. But it's simply not enough. I guess you maybe just need larger ducts and a stronger fan. This works much better with modern fireplaces which heat by convection. But then you don't have the prolonged warmth release that the masonry heater offers. And not to mention the fan is a little bit noisy. In case you want to know, I used 125mm ducts and a 37 watt actual fan. I'm not sure how the air ducts could be done better or if they should be done at all with a masonry heater. Would I do it the same way or would I do something different? There are a few things that I would change if I would do it again. The walls of the masonry heater. The brick walls of our masonry heater are pretty thick. It takes about an hour for the chambers to warm up, and to have some proper heat release it takes about 2 hours. It takes daily fires to keep it warm and emitting heat constantly. But the width of a brick, about 10 centimeter, I think is a little bit too thick. Tile ovens are pretty thin and they are packed with about 5 centimeter of clay on the inside. I think a brick on its side will be thick enough, because the inside brickwork of the chambers also stores heat. And with a thinner wall, the heat exchanges a little bit faster with the room. And the chimney. I regret now not going for an insulated chimney pipe. During the cold winter we had a lot of condensation on the inside of the chimney. There is an outlet where it can drip out. That's fine. But then the ash of the fire got stuck to the condense, which then fell down and clogged the outlet. So now the outlet doesn't drip anymore. And another mistake that I made with the chimney was not adding a hatch for cleaning it out. There wasn't one available in the store, so I guess I simply didn't think about it. So now I have to disassemble the chimney in order to clean it. Not looking forward for that. But otherwise I'm happy with the design and the material choices of our masonry heater. Especially the cast iron doors. I'm glad I didn't cheap out on those by going for the thin ones made out of stainless steel. Now before I get to my final verdict, let's get to some questions that you guys left for me in the comments. The fact that you pull air from the living room, doesn't it bring cold air from inside, through the windows and doors for example? Yes, I bet. I initially wanted to put an air inlet from the outside so that the fire would pull outdoor air. But the builder that helped me had never heard of that being done to a tile oven, so we had a long discussion about it and I caved. I do follow your logic as well, and I went around the house looking for places where air might be leaking in, but I could not find any flow that could be significant. I guess the main air inlet is the bathroom fan when it's off, but the bathroom being next to the fireplace gets so cozy warm that any cold air flowing in there is not noticeable. I'm not quite sure which is best, but logically I would still prefer to have an air inlet from outside. Is it economical? Well, that depends. If you have free firewood, yes, definitely. But if you have to buy firewood, during the one winter we burned around 15 cubic meters of firewood. We didn't get to harvest from our own forest yet, because there are some legal steps to be done. So we spent around €750 on firewood this winter. But that's pretty similar to what our neighbors spent on their gas bill during the same period. The amount of wood you need to burn, it largely depends on the size of your house and how well it's insulated. Does it help control humidity inside the house? It should. We don't really have a reference as it's the first year living in this house, but our hygrometers constantly stayed below 50% during this winter. It would be super cool if you could draw how the up and down draft design was made. Okay, here you go. Can you make it without bricks, only with mud? I believe that is possible if you get the mud-sand ratios perfect. And mud tends to crack as it dries, so you need to be adding some fibers as well. Pity you didn't put a pizza oven in. Yeah, I like those as well. I had it planned at first, but eventually I decided to go for a more simple design. Less to mess up and easier to fix. Plus, we have a classic outdoor clay bread oven. We plan on fixing that up soon and bake some pizzas in that as well. So stay tuned for that. Why no water heater inside? Also that I was planning on including, but it requires some additional installations like a buffer tank and a pressure regulator. I got some quotes for installations like that and they did not make it appealing. And also a firebox with built-in coils for heating water was quoted at €7,000 without installation. So I passed on that idea. Anyway, we are planning on getting photovoltaic panels, so an electric water boiler is a much cheaper solution. The one we have was less than €200. Okay, now, my final verdict. Am I happy with it? Yes! It's really nice to make a fire, sit in front of it, watch it burn and feel the cozy warmth on your face. But now, 1 year later, after having made well over 100 fires and burned nearly 15 cubic meters of firewood, would I still build a masonry heater? No, I would not. And here's why. We are getting photovoltaic panels and we are planning on using electricity as our main source of heating. That always was the plan, but since we have the forest and presumably free firewood, using a masonry heater would be a good way to supplement heating. But now last winter we experienced how the AC unit upstairs works for heating, and it does an amazing job. It warms up the room really fast. It does use a lot of electricity, but when we have the panels on our roof, that shouldn't be an issue. So we are getting another AC unit installed for downstairs as our main heating source. Also, the cost of our masonry heater was about 3,000 euro. Now that's probably pretty cheap. But for the same price, you can get a good AC unit and cover the electricity bill for it for the entire winter, if not more. Also, firewood is a lot of work. I spent at least a week chopping up the logs that we bought with a chainsaw and an axe, and we haven't even gotten to the wood of our own forest yet. A house is much better built around a masonry heater rather than fitting one into an existing house. So no, I would not build a masonry heater in our house if I would have to start now. But we do enjoy having a fireplace in our living room, so maybe we would opt for a more modern type of fireplace, which is more of a luxury and not a main source of heating.